All right. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a happy, what's today? Today is Thursday. A happy Thursday to you all. Hope everyone's doing well. Guys, I decided that today we're going to do something just a little bit different, okay? Okay. We are going to go into a topic that I have learned a lot of students struggle with when it comes to their private pilot training. And that would be creating a VFR navigation log. So that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to create a VFR nav log. I'm going to get some more water before we begin. So anyone who is joining the TikTok side of things or the Twitch side of things, welcome everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. We're going to start up in about 5 minutes and whatnot. Probably less than that. Of how to essentially create a VFR flight plan. So we're going to go into it all, guys. We're going to be plotting out a whole entire trip here, and we're going to plan a trip that many of my students, it's their first trip that they plan. It's going to be from Ocean County to Cape May County down here. It's a very basic VFR cross-country plan, but it utilizes plenty of airspace. We got restricted areas, Class Charlie. We have a bunch of different things going on here. And so we're going to essentially create a nav log from scratch. We're going to get a weather briefing. You use aviationweather.gov. We're going to use the dreaded E6B that everyone hates so damn much. We're going to use the E6B. We're going to do it all today, guys. So it's going to be absolutely exciting. I hope you guys are just as excited as I am, because I am actually very excited to do this lesson, and I hope it's going to be helpful for a lot of people here. So we are going to start up in just a few minutes. I'm going to grab some water and then we will begin. Just stand by for a minute or two. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. So we are going to start in creating a flight plan here, guys. So definitely very important to do. Niner, good to see you on the Twitch side. Sunny, people, you know, some people don't like the slide rule. Personally, I love the slide rule. There's nothing like a classic E6B. In my opinion, with all my students, they have to earn the ability to use electronics. So they start on paper charts. Once they can prove to me they can do it on paper charts in the slide rule, they can do it however they want, as long as they can prove to me they can do it. So we're going to get right into it, guys, here. This is, for many of you, you guys know what this is. This is a nav log. This is the ASA nav log. Many of you are familiar with it. By the end of this lesson, we're going to have this thing all filled on our cross-country flight. So the first thing we need to do is essentially pick our points. Where are we going? What are we using? So let's do that now. We're going to head on here. And guys, for those of you watching on the TikTok side, if you do want to watch in full resolution, you can head over to the Twitch side, which is in full 1920 1080 HD versus the vertical orientation that you're seeing on your phone right now. So we're going to get straight into it here, guys. All right, so turn that off in my ear. So we're going to start here at Ocean County, right? So we're going to start here at Ocean County, and we need to pick our first plan. So the first rule of thumb is when you're creating a cross-country flight plan, you have dead reckoning and pilotage. You want to be able to have checkpoints and dead reckon your way all the way down to where you're going. So the first point you want to look for is something that makes sense. In this case, we're going down south here to Cape May, right? So we know we're going south, and we're looking. What is the most obvious place to go? There are two places you can go. You can either go inland or you can do the pretty ocean tour. We're going to do inland because it gives us a little more to discuss in regards to airspace and navigation, navigational facilities. Thank you guys for the likes as well. So we're going to pick the Coyle VOR. That's Charlie Yankee November. So we're going to pick Coyle. It's also Coyle Field. And if we open this up, hold on, I'm going to give you guys a satellite view of Google Maps. Give me 1 second here. And you guys will realize why this is such a great place to choose. As soon as I get the satellite view open here, layers, satellite. So we take a look here, and if we look at the satellite view of Coyle Field, you can see that Coyle Field is very well recognizable. It used to be, an active airport, and now it isn't. It's technically privatized for NJ20. And you can see it's got dirt runways here. And you can see the Coyle VOR VORTAC facility right here. Very obvious to see from the sky as well. So when you're starting up here at Ocean County Airport and coming down to Coyle, very, very obvious from the air. So that's where we're going to start, guys. We're going to start with Coyle VOR. That's going to be our first checkpoint of sorts. And we'll actually align it with the sectional right where I put it, because this is a little more realistic than it snapping the GPS. Hi from Millville, welcome. So we choose Coyle Field. Now we need our next checkpoint. Now we need to figure out right now where we're going, right? So I don't know, is restricted 5002 hot or cold right now? Could I easily check the Washington sectional to find out? Sure could. So I'm going to zoom out so the sectional appears here. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to also turn off the radar. There we go. Oh, wait, it's not struggling to load. As I zoom out here, and I get to the bottom here, we zoom into the bottom of the facility, the facilities that are on this chart, and we look for restricted 5002. So restricted 5002, we can see here. It has all different sectors. We have 5001, 5001, 5002, A, B, C, D, E, and F. 2, but not including 14,000, sunrise to sunset, activated 48 hours in advance, controlled by New York Center, 1897, all the way down. Now, we can look at this and say, oh, it's fine. But you know what else we can do, guys? We can do the smart thing, all right? And what we're going to do is, real world right now, I'm going to call up McGuire Approach. Because they'll have the information. I could also call Atlantic City Approach and ask them. And I'm just going to ask the status of 5002. I'm going to ask if it's hot or cold. I'm assuming it's cold right now because it's 8:26 in the evening. But there's nothing wrong with giving them a ring and checking. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to give McGuire a call. McGuire clearance.
McGuire clearance, please hold. Good evening, McGuire clearance delivery.
McGuire, hello. Can you tell me the status of 5001 and 5002 this evening?
Restricted area 5001 is active surface to 4,000 feet. 5002 is cold until standby tomorrow at 13:30 Zulu.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the help. Have a great night.
You as well, sir.
Bye-bye. Okay, so there we go. We got the status very quickly. First rule of thumb, guys, especially for private pilots, don't be afraid to make that call and ask. There's nothing wrong with calling and asking that question at all. So don't be afraid to ask that question. It's definitely important to do so. Give me 1 second here. I actually just got an error on the TikTok side, so hold on. I may have to recycle the stream really quick, guys, and then we'll just continue on. So stand by 1 second. Everyone on the Twitch side, you guys are still up. I'm just fixing something here that apparently got all messed up here. Let's make sure that that's working again. Actually, I don't think it will. It has a new code. Stand by, guys. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. That's better. That's back up now. Sorry about that, guys. Welcome back, everybody. So we're doing the navigation log. As you guys just heard from the live, we did just call McGuire Approach and find out the status of restricted 5001 and 5002. So it's really that simple, guys. We just gave them a call and said, what's the status of this restricted area right here? And what's the status of 5002? Right now, 5002 is cold. 5001 is hot, surface to 4000. Luckily, our flight plan's not taking us anywhere near restricted 5001, so we don't need to worry about it. 5002 in this case is cold, which means I can fly through it without any worry of getting any. Right now, that's from what I know, an artillery range, so I'm not going to get blown up while I'm flying. So that's always a good thing. So we now continue to figure out our next checkpoint. Now, if we do our next checkpoint as Atlantic City, as an example, that's all good and fine, but it's 23 miles, right? 23 miles, if you're in the middle of nowhere, is a significant amount of space to get lost. Now, the only reason that I'm okay with doing a leg like this is because Atlantic City also has a VOR facility, which allows me to track a VOR to the field. Atlantic City is also very obvious to see from the sky. So if you're flying over Atlantic City, you can very well see where Atlantic City is and the VOR that's currently on top. So when you're creating a cross-country flight plan, you guys definitely should be considering the satellite view of everything. That helps tell you if a checkpoint is good or not. You know, if I were to use, here's a great example. If I were to use these two rivers that are aligning, right? And I'm looking up here. I'm like, where are these two rivers aligning? Is it this one aligning, the Wading River and the Mullica? Or is it the Bass and the Mullica? Which one is it? Or is it this small one? So I look at this. Okay, Route 9's there. I go back here. And okay, Route 9's over here. So this is what I mean. You really have to... That actually may be the Garden State Parkway over here. Actually, no, that is the Garden State Parkway. Anyway, very much to my point, these are very similar. You wouldn't be able to truly decipher which one it is. Is it that far off? No, that's probably no more than 3 or 4 miles. You're not that much off course. But when you have the Parkway here, this is a great VFR checkpoint following the Parkway, which will essentially bring you to Atlantic City anyway. But in this case, what we're going to do is we're just going to mark Atlantic City as our next checkpoint. The next checkpoint after that depends on where we want to go. Maybe we want to fly along the coastline. We can take a look at Ocean City. That's a great checkpoint. Or perhaps we use another airport. Airports are the easiest checkpoints to use, guys. Woodbine. You can also see the flag that's off of there. That's also indicating to you that this is a published VFR visual checkpoint. So we'll add Woodbine. So we now have Woodbine. And then last but not least, we have Cape May County Airport. And that'll be that. So we have that. The flight plan's now in. Now what we need to do is, could I click Navlog and it gives me all the data? Of course. It'll spit it right back out, and that's going to be super easy. But do I want to make it easy on myself? No, I want to plan the whole thing. So we now have our checkpoints, right? So we're going to now put that into here. So we're going to put in our checkpoints and type everything in. So our departure is KMJX. Okay. Then we have coil. Then you guys will understand why I'm skipping this in a second. Then we have Atlantic City, KACY/ACY. ACY is the VOR facility. That's why I'm labeling it that way. Actually, what I'll do is that. KACY/ACY. Then we have Woodbine, which is, what's the identifier for Woodbine? OBI. So we now have OBI. then we have down here, we have KWWD. And you noticed, guys, that I skipped 2 lines. Why did I skip these 2 lines, you're probably wondering. Well, the reason for it is a lot of students forget this. You have to calculate your top of climb and top of descent. So we're going to do that. I'm going to assume that coil's either going to be at my top of climb or after. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Depends on the wind. TOD. Top of descent. So we now have our checkpoints in there, right? So that's good. At least we figured that out. Now, the next thing we need to figure out is where are we going to, what are we going to cruise at? What altitude? So we take a look at the sectional. And we can see that the Class Charlie, the top of the Class Charlie is 4,100 feet. Now, am I scared of flying in the Charlie? No. I'll get a squawk code from McGuire. They'll hand me off to Atlantic City. We'll be bopping around, throwing it all on red. You know what I mean? But the question is not just what do I want to cruise at? It's what are the winds? Do I want to deal with a massive headwind on the way down? Or do I want to, or is there a tailwind and maybe I want to go higher so I go faster? All of these factor in. So that's what we're going to figure out right now. We don't have any severe water crossings to talk about, but let's say that we were going down to Delaware Coastal. I'm not going to cross this below 6,500 feet. The reason for that is the measurement of this to this is about, I think, 13 miles. Excuse me, 13 miles. I can actually confirm that really quickly. Hold on. Measure distance here to here. 14.3 miles. So that's 14.3 miles. Now, the reason that you always want to make sure that you pick a altitude that works for you is going to ensure that if you lose your single engine that you have in a 172, you have the glide distance to get back. So we go over to the glide ratio table here on the POH. You can see here's a beautiful glide ratio table. If I'm at, let's say, 3,000 feet, right? And I get right to the center point and then drop down, I'm going to have 5 miles of glide distance. A little less than that, probably. More like 4.5. So we're going to call this 4. That's a little too big. We're going to call this 4.5. So if I lose my engine, I have 4.5 miles to glide. Okay. Let's increase it to about 4,500 feet. I lose my engine. I now have about 7 miles. Okay. What if I chose to go up even higher to 6,500 feet? Lose my engine at 6,500 feet. I have about 9.5 miles. 9.5. 9.5 miles if I'm at 6,500 feet. Why does that matter, right? Let's take a look here. If we're making this water crossing in a single engine 172, this water crossing is 14.3 miles long, right? 14.3 miles, which means the midpoint of it is roughly 7.15 miles, right? So we get to 7.15 miles, 7 miles. Let's take a look back at our glide chart. We're cruising at 4,500, 7 miles. You have 0 room for error. 0. If you lose that engine, you have to be at best glide, 68 knots, 0 wind component as well, and flaps up and glide your best you can. Now, for anyone who is learning this, quite frankly, I don't want to be risking the biscuit at 7 miles, hoping to God that I can make it. So if I go back to my POH and I see 9.5 miles here, now that gives me a hell of a better buffer, right? So now I'm at 7, let's call it 7 miles. 9 miles, okay, I have an extra 2 miles to play with. That can factor in for wind as well. Let's say that I have a nasty headwind here. Maybe that'll give me just enough time to make 180 to help that wind push me back to Cape May. This is super important to make sure that you understand where you're going to lose an engine and how far you can glide. Now, the flight plan that we're planning right now doesn't have us going over the ocean or the Delaware Bay in any way, shape, or form, so we don't have to really worry about it. So what we're going to do is continue on our way here. So we're going to say we're going to cruise at 4,500 feet, right? That should be fine, because we're thinking as well, why are we cruising at 4,500? We're going to have a 7 miles glide distance. We have airports almost all along our route. So we should be fine for the most part. You know, Warren Grove's right here if we need to get there. Coyle Field's right here. Really, the only risk moment would be somewhere around here getting to Atlantic City. We can eliminate that risk immediately by going to 6,500 feet. But we're going to make that determination now by going to aviationweather.gov. And what we're going to do here is we are going to be looking at a winds and temps forecast. All right. You're going to see winds and temps data. So we're going to open this up here and we're going to zoom in. So we take a look at the validity date. It's valid on the 23rd of the month, which is technically today, for use from 20 Zulu to 0300 Zulu. So right now in Zulu time, it should be 0039. It is 0039. So it's 0039. This is a valid time frame. So we look at the Northeast and we look for the VOR, or the station that is going to be closest to us. That's going to put Atlantic City mainly in our range. So we look at Atlantic City, okay. EMI, Bangor, Bradley. We're looking for any other stations in the area here. Norfolk, Roanoke, Richmond. So let's use Atlantic City. That's the only close station for our entire route, right? So it is not odd plus 500 because it's always measured on a straight line distance, Alex. So it's not odd. It's not odd plus 500 because you're technically going westbound. So if I remove this route really quick, I'll open up another sky vector. It's going to be, we're going to clear this out and we're just going to go KMJX to KWWD. And you can see that the actual course of this, if I zoom out, is 220, which means that it needs to be even plus 500. So, crap, now my entire route got screwed up. Let me put everything back here. Coil. And just put this back right here. GPS. Dang it. Stand by. We'll do Atlantic City. Then we will do Plan Woodbine and just move that around here. We're going to do KOBI. There we go. Enter. Do. Okay. There we go. Put that all back. All right. So thank you for the rose. I appreciate it. So we're now looking at our winds and temps table, and we look at the altitude. So at 3,000 feet, Atlantic City, we have this, which is indicating 3228. So all we have to do here is add a 0 right in the middle here, 320 at 28. So this is indicating the wind will be out of the west, actually out of the northwest, 320 at 28 knots. Okay, let's go to 6,000, right? We go up here, 330 at 28 plus 04. This is indicating the temperature that you can expect aloft. So it's telling you that it's going to be actually plus 04 degrees Celsius at 6,000 feet. So 3228, we're going to have 28 knot tailwind here, but 3328, it seems as though it's shifting just a little further northwest, about 10 degrees. You go to 9,000, you can see it's shifting more westbound, and the tailwinds aren't as powerful at the 9,000 foot mark until you get to. It's actually interesting because it's actually a little calmer at 9 between 6 and 12. So we want to get down there quick, right? So we're going to choose 6,000. So let's use 6,500 feet, right, guys? So we'll do 6,500 feet. And we know the wind is 3328 plus 04. We're going to copy that. We're going to go to our nav log, and we're going to put this into our weather briefing information. Very important to keep. I'm just going to do that because I know that that is indication 330 at 28 plus 04. smaller at 2.8 with plus 0.4, and that's going to be at 6,000 feet. All right. So now I have that data, and this is also indicating KACY. I've been a ground instructor for over 3 years and a CFI for a little more than half a year. KACY. So I taught ground a lot before I was a CFI. It actually made my CFI check ride much easier than most CFI check rides go, because I've been teaching for 3 years ground instruction, which I recommend to anyone who wants to become a CFI. Once you have your private, go for your AGI, IGI. CFI is a certified flight instructor. So we have our checkpoints here, guys, and we have our winds. So now what we need is to start filling this out. So plan, true course, and altitude. So we have that data from SkyVector, right? True course to coil is 238. So we can type that in. Let's do that now. We're going to do 238. Okay. So 238. Okay. Then we get to coil, and then our course becomes 210. Then we get to Atlantic City, and our course becomes 227. Okay, so we're now at 227. Then after Woodbine, we're on to 215. Which will be here. 215 and 215. 227. Okay. So we take a look here from MJX to coil, which is this black arrow. It's indicating course 238. From coil to top of climb will be 210. From top of climb to ACY, it'll be 227. And then from ACY to Woodbine, sorry, I skipped one. 210, sorry. 210 from coil to top climb. This should also be 210. So for those of you who are trying to watch in full screen high resolution, you guys can also go to the Twitch side. That's a true 1920 1080. It's also going to be recorded on that side if you guys want to play it back. So essentially we have, sorry, didn't realize that was cut off there. Sorry, guys. There we go. So we have, I'm just trying to figure out where the frame lock is here so that I know to make sure that this is framed for you guys on the TikTok side of things. There we go. All right, so we have our true courses plotted all here. And then we need our altitudes, right? So we start with our altitude at Ocean County Airport. So we go over here, click Ocean County, and we look for the AFD. Should be in here. I always forget where SkyVector hides it. There it is. The chart supplement, sorry, not the AFD, chart supplement. So we take a look at the chart supplement, which is here, Toms River. And we look right here for airport elevation, which is 86 feet MSL. Thank you very much for the follow, Diesel Fury. And you can see all the information about Toms River Airport along with the runways available and the distance. Can see if they're PAPIs, VASIs, runway threshold, displace threshold, Mausers, all that fun stuff. So 86 feet MSL is what we care about for this. So we're now going to put 86 into here. 86. Cool. So 86. Now we need to know what our predicted wind is going to be. Now that's not a winds aloft, that's at the airport. You can use a weather app. You can use a weather forecasting app, what the wind's going to be. That's probably your best bet. You can look at TAFs as well. So we're going to do two of those things. We're going to take a look at the TAF. So we're going to do KWRI TAF. And we're going to take a look at what the TAF is going to spit out for us. Right now, from 1800 to 1900 UTC, that wouldn't be correct. we're looking for to 0100 on the 23rd, which is now. Becoming, so becoming forecast between 19 and 20. Interesting. Interesting, hold on. Let's use this one. Let's use the 2301 because that'll be a little more realistic for our time frame. We're predicting winds 330 at 15, gusts 25, visibility unrestricted, scattered at 3,000, and very low pressure of 29 or 64. So we expect the winds to be 330 at 15, gusts 25. That's Adam McGuire right now. Now, if we were just doing this flight plan now, I could just call the AWOS, which I'm going to try to do. Hopefully it works. Hold on. AWOS. Let's see what the AWOS is telling us at the airport. Yeah, it's one of those days the AWOS doesn't want to work and it's going to say it's busy. So, we can't get that, but we can probably find out what Lakehurst is saying because Lakehurst is pretty close. So you have these situations where you have to look at different places, guys. You have to look at the weather at different airports. So we're going to do K. Oh, my brain is completely blanking on the identifier for Lakehurst, and I don't know why. NEL. KNEL METAR. So we'll look at Lakehurst METAR right now. What are they spitting out? They're spitting out winds 310 at 4. Significant difference of what the TAF is predicting and what we are seeing. So Lakehurst is only about 7 miles north of Ocean County. I'm going to use Lakehurst METAR right now. It makes the most sense. So winds 310 at 4. We'll use that. So we have that data. And what we're going to do is we're going to predicted wind 310. Stand by if I can learn how to type properly. Wind 310. Velocity 4. Great. So these are surface winds, guys, our MJX to coil departure. Now, once we get to the next section, we can start to use our predicted winds, which we take a look at here. We can actually put in that terminal aerial forecast as well. So we'll put in the METAR for Lakehurst, KNEL. And all I have to do is I can actually, this is the beauty of doing it digitally, so I can just do a good old copy pasta on it. And all I care about, don't care about sea level pressure, don't care about the precipitation sensor. This is what I care about. Automated. Actually, I also want the date of issuance. So that's what I care about most. And there's some math in aviation, for sure, Diesel Fury. Have I ever flown out of Lakewood Township? Many times. Okay. So here's our METAR, just put it in there. Cool. If we want, we can also, just for being thorough, we can put in our TAF as well. So we're just going to put in our TAF here for becoming, because that's what I care about. And this is the becoming for McGuire. Can I... That's McGuire TAF. I'm going to also get my... I'm also going to get my Atlantic City TAF because that one matters a lot to me. That's going to cover my arrival airport, which is going to be key. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So guys, a lot of the steps in creating a navlog is about being thorough. This is important on your check rides, guys. If the examiner sees you're being thorough, your check ride's going to go like a breeze. But if you're not prepared with the weather and all that information, it's not going to go as hot. He or she is going to definitely drill into you to find out if you have weaknesses when it comes to flight planning, because you got to be safe when you flight plan. So we're going to go KACY TAF, and we're going to pull up the terminal area forecast for Atlantic City. And I actually don't want decoded. I want raw. We're not fucking around here. We're doing the real thing. So this is the one that I want because it's from 2300 at 0100 Zulu, which is in about 7 minutes. And the predicted wind is 320 at 12, gust 19. So we're going to copy that. then we'll call Atlantic City to find out what it actually is. If I can actually call, or I'll just look at the ATIS information or the METAR. I can look at the METAR, or I can call. I don't know if I can call the Atlantic City ATIS. I don't think I can, but we can certainly try. Actually, you know what I can do? I wonder if this will work. There is a website, DATIS, ACY. No digital ATIS for Atlantic City right now. What about JFK? What's JFK saying? They're on the 4s and the wind's 320 at 21 gust 28. The wind's definitely picking up. All right, so we'll check the METAR for Atlantic City. All right, Atlantic City METAR, here we go. Issued on the 22nd, 2354 Zulu. This is a forecast. So this was the most recent issuance, which is about an hour old. It is actually exactly an hour old. So if we wait a minute or two, this should refresh with the most recent METAR, and that'll give us what we need. But for now, we just care about the winds aloft data of 330 at 28. So we're going to plug that information in while we're waiting. 330 at 28. Now, important thing to note is as you get further away from the station, your predictions are going to be less accurate. So you always need to keep that in mind, guys. So as you get closer to another station, it may be in your best interest to switch the forecasting of the predicted winds. So we're just going to put all this in here. And now what I like to do is around Whiskey Whiskey Delta. This is where I'll put in the actual data that I'm forecasting at Whiskey Whiskey Delta. So again, that's going to be more so based off a nearby TAF, which is going to be pulling from Atlantic City. So if I quickly just look at ForeFlight on my phone here, it should be pulling the TAF from the Atlantic City area. TAF, it's actually pulling the Millville TAF, so it's a good thing we checked. KMIV. TAF. So we open up the Millville TAF. Actually, give me a METAR, but okay. We're taking a look here. Issued about an hour ago. Wind 320 at 6 knots. All right. Forecast between 0100. This is a pretty big block. They're thinking 320 at 8. And Millville, to put you guys in perspective of where Millville is in relation to Cape May, Millville's right here. So not too far off. So we'll use Millville. Millville, I'll go with the Millville TAF and see what they're predicting as well. And the METAR is also indicating around the same. So 320 at 6. We'll do that. So we'll do 320 at 6. Now it's going to be a little bit different because 320 at 6, we're at top of descent to Whiskey Whiskey Delta. It won't be 320 at 6 for that whole way down. In fact, it would probably be prudent to sort of give ourselves a little bit of play here. I'm going to actually change this to KWWD pattern. I'm going to account for the pattern altitude. So that way I'm going to be accounting for something more along the tune of what will be expected aloft. And then I can expect, I'm not going to put in a prediction for the pattern. I'll just say 2 minutes for that. But knowing that data, we'll use these velocities for the time being. Thank you guys all for the likes as well. So we're going between Ocean County and Cape May. So we go to our altitude. What altitude will we be at with coil? Well, there's only one way to plan that, and that's by taking a look at the POH. These are our glide distance, and we're going to look at our max rate of climb. We're going to assume full gross because it's always best case scenario to assume worse than it will be. So what are we missing, guys? We need to know temperature. Temperature is key. So we go back to our nav log. We take a look at temperature. Temperature 172.12. Okay, so we'll assume 20 degrees Celsius, guys. 20 degrees Celsius will be our assumption. We can see that our max rate of climb at sea level is 710 and slowly disintegrates. We hop on down to the time, fuel, and distance to climb now. And we need to figure out the calculations that matter to us. So that would be sea level, time in minutes, time in gallons, 0. So I'm starting at 0. We're going to 6,500 feet. So we're going to have to interpolate data here. So we're going to interpolate data in a second to figure out what our number is, because we're going to 6,500 feet, right, guys? So we will interpolate that data by typing it in. So we're going to do 6,500 and just move that right in the middle here and make it smaller so that you guys can see. Okay, so we'll do a little baby 6,500 in here. All right, 6,500. 73, 73. There's no split there. We know it'll be 73. So that's easy. 505 and 455. We have to interpolate the data between that. So we open up our calculator really quick. And we figure out what the difference is between 505 and 455, which is 50. We divide that by half because it's halfway point, right? It's 25. That was mental math. I'm just showing visually to you guys. It's 25. So we know 25 feet is the midpoint. So all we do is we add that or subtract it. Add it to 455 or subtract it from 505. Either way will work. 455. And that's going to be 480. So that's our answer there. 480. 480. Okay. 480. Time in minutes. 10 and 12. What's the difference between them? 2. What's the halfway point? 1. 11 minutes. Interpolation of data is very important. That will come up in your private pilot writtens as well. 2.2 and 2.6. What's the midpoint between these? It's a difference of 4. Subtract 2.6 by 0.2, you get 2.4. That's our answer. 2.4. Okay, 13 and 16, the difference between them is 3. The half of 3 is 1.5, so our answer is 14.5 miles. So 14.5. All right, now we have the information that is key to us, right? Kyle, you need a flight plan because if your CFI is just allowing you to create a navlog in ForeFlight, your DP is going to destroy you, destroy you, because you won't know how to actually do it on paper using something like this. 6,500, 73 indicated. 480 is our rate of climb feet per minute. Time, it's going to take us 11 minutes. Fuel used gallons, 2.4, and 14.5 miles. So we'll get to these notes at the bottom in a minute. The important thing to know is it's going to take us 14.5 nautical miles to get there, right? So we quickly go back to the navlog, 14.5 miles. All we're going to do is top a climb. We're just going to go 14.5 NM from MJX. And I like to add these notes to remind myself when I'm creating something like this. There's nothing wrong with it, guys. In fact, for your check rides, your examiner will think you're more prepared, if anything, if you're doing things like this. Because they're like, oh, this applicant knows what they're doing. So we now need to figure out our mileage for every single leg, right? So MJX, so we're going to go over here to the distance column, distance, leg remaining. So distance between MJX and coil. Let's hop back. That's different, Kyle. That's a CFI initial. It's not a private. It's a CFI initial. You already hold a commercial certificate. It's obvious you know how to do it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That's going to blow everything out. Maybe it won't. Okay, cool. Nope, it did. Fuck. There's no control Z in Sky Vector. We're going to set the VOR there. Then we're going to set Atlantic City here. Then we're going to set Woodbine here. You did it. Wow. Your DP was... I'm surprised. DPs can't stop you from using electronic flight bags. But the DPs I know, when they test, if you're going to use ForeFlight and do your entire navlog in ForeFlight, they usually drill down and say, show me this calculation. Very common that I've seen. That's why I make my students paper plan it. It's a pain in the ass, but it makes their orals 10 times quicker, in my experience. So first leg is 9 miles. So we're going to toss that in here, right? We're going to quickly just toss that in and just do 9. Niner. All right, 9 miles. Cool. We know 14.5 is our top of climb, so we have to do a little bit of math, right, guys? So it's going to be 5.5 if I did my math correctly. My mental math is not as great as it used to be, but it's still on par, apparently. 5.5. Boop. 5.5. So 5.5 is coil to the top of climb. Then we have to figure out top of climb to ACY. So we have to do a differential again. We have to figure out the difference between coil and Atlantic City really quick. And that is a 23 nautical mile leg, right? So we just do 23 minus the 5.5 we've already flown, and that's going to give us 17.5. So we'll just go on down here. Yeah, they don't care if it's electronic or not. They care if you know how to do the calculation. That's what I'm trying to allude to. Because could I do this very quickly in 3 minutes flat and say, here's an navlog? Sure. Would it be super accurate? Sure. But that doesn't mean you know how to do this flight plan. You know what I mean? This stream and this lesson is to teach you how to do a flight plan from scratch. If you wanted to quickly create a navlog, here, flight plan, navlog, done. Like, that's not going to teach you shit, though. So we figure out from top of climb to ACY, it's going to be 17 miles. Then we figure out the leg from Woodbine or Atlantic City to Woodbine, which is 18. So I'll just copy that and put that there. 18. And then we'll figure out the top of descent leg. Woodbine to top of descent. So we have to figure out our TOD and how long it'll take. We assume that your descent will be 500 feet per minute, right? So if we need to get to pattern altitude, which at Woodbine or at Cape May is about 1,022 feet, so let's call it 1,100 feet. So we'll do 6,500 minus 1,100. 5,400 feet. So it's 5,400 feet to descend. I'll do about 5,400 descent. I'll just put about 5,400 feet as a reminder to myself. So what we do is we quickly open up a calculator and we'll assume 5,500, right? Divided by 500 feet per minute. Should take us 11 minutes to do that. So we'll have to figure all that out in a little bit once we have our wind calculations in. But we know that from Woodbine to Whiskey Whiskey Delta, it is going to be about 14 miles. So we will figure out how long it takes with the 6B in a minute. Let's start figuring out our altitudes here, right? So this is going to be 6,500. And then if this is 9 miles, we can look here at our climb. And 9 miles is about 4,500 feet. So we'll just know that we'll be about 4,500 feet at coil. And then 6,500 here. And we will do 1,100 there because that's the pattern at Cape May. And obviously the TOD is here. So we have that information all inputted. We now need our temp table. Well, the temps, we already know from our winds loft data, it's going to be +4. So it's going to be 4, and we'll just do 4, 4. Actually, that's going to be a lapse rate calculation. We know that the temperature that we were looking at Lakehurst, temperature was 17, so we can put 17 here. And for those of you who don't know about adiabatic lapse rate, for every 1,000 feet, you lose about 2 degrees Celsius, right? So if we're going up to 4,500 feet, or 6,500 feet, I should say, and divide that by 1,000, 6.5 times 2, it's about 13 degrees. So starting from 17 minus 13, how about we do math right? 17 minus 13 is 4 degrees. That matches the lapse rate calculation that was provided in the winds loft data. So this actually will be different because it's 4,500 feet. So we have to quickly interpolate that data by using lapse rate again. So 4,500 divided by 1,000 times 2 is 9 degrees. 17 minus 9 is 8. 8 degrees. Cool. Then we'll figure out what Millville is saying when we get a little bit lower. So we take a look at our climb speed, 73. We'll use 73 for our planned airspeed. 73. And then we need to know what our cruise will be as well. So we're going to go to this, and we're going to do our cruise performance table. Now, depending upon where you're at, again, we have interpolation data situation here where we're going to have to interpolate between 6,000 and 8,000 feet down here. So we'll do that in a second. Now, it depends how hard you want to run your aircraft. For me, I want to get there quick, right? So I'm going to do 2,300 RPM in the 172. So I'm going to do this, 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 and this. I'm also going to look at what standard temperature is. Now, standard temperature, as everyone knows, at sea level, it's 15 degrees. So we're actually pretty close to standard today. So what you need to know is when you're looking at this standard temperature, it's standard temperature at that altitude, right? So we do standard temperature at sea level, it's 15. But at 6,000 feet, divided by 1,000, times 2, that's 12 per 1,000 feet because you lose 2 degrees. So we do 15 minus 12. Your standard temperature at 6,000 is 3 degrees. I'm aware that it's there, Bucket. It's also to protect myself, showing that I can provide ground instruction. I know my certificate's there. I'm not just some random guy who's teaching this stuff, because at least you know that it's coming from someone who's certified to teach it. So we look at standard temperature here, and we quickly know that it's 3 degrees. I think that was the calculation I just made. If it's something different, tell me. But 3 degrees is standard. I'm just going to put 3-STD. That's going to remind me, okay, 3 degrees is standard. That just reminds me, okay, if I'm at 3 degrees, I'm around standard. So when we're at 6,500 feet, right now our prediction is 4. It's pretty damn close to standard. You always want to overestimate the situation and think that it's going to be worse than it actually is. When you're that close within a degree, you can use it. But if you have like a serious situation of, let's say, 20 degrees above standard at 6,000 feet would be 23 Celsius, and right now you're predicting 17, you're going to want to go 20 above standard because that's going to give you a worst case scenario. Always plan for the worst case scenario. I know it's on the Airman Registry. My address isn't there or anything, Bucket, so I have no problem. If my address was on the Airman Registry, then I'd have a problem with it, but I opted out. But thank you. So we take a look here and we go to standard temperature, right? So we know our standard temperature is, with true airspeed, we're going to have 101 knots, burning about 7.4 at 6,000 feet. We now have to go to 8,000 feet and look at the same thing. 2,300 4899 7.1. So we now have our true airspeed and our gallons per hour, and we have to now interpolate this data, right? So let's figure out what 7,000 feet is. So we can actually remove, let's get rid of the extraneous stuff we don't care about, which is, keep those, get rid of those, and we're just going to highlight 23, and then 51, 101, and 7.4. So we interpolate the data, and we'll just quickly write 7,000, and I'm going to interpolate between your percentage, your true, and your gallons per hour. So we have 4851. That's about 3. Half of that would be 1.5. We'll call it 49.5. This value isn't as important as the other two for most private pilots. So you don't have to sweat the BHP. You have true airspeed difference of 2 between 101 and 99, so we can call that 100. And then your difference between your burn of gallons per hour is 7.1 and 7.4. That's 0.3, 1.5. That's going to give us 1.5, Jesus, Joe. 7.25 is going to be our calculation. 1.5. 3 is the difference. 1.5, yes, that is correct. 7.25, yes. So that's our 7,000 figure, right? So we now know our 7,000 figure is there. Now we need our 6,500 figure. So we're just going to go over here and say, okay, difference between 101 and 100 is 100.5, which at that point you can either round up or round down. You're not going to care about the knot as much. And then you have 7.4 versus 7.25. That's a difference of 15. Half of that is like 0.75. So you're starting to split hairs at this point and figure out where everything is. Let's just go with 101 and 7.4 because the difference between them is not that severe. We'll go 101, 7.4. If it's a significant speed and burn difference, then you may want to do something different. But I'd rather have a higher burn ratio and assume that I'm going to use more fuel than assume less fuel and it not be accurate. So we interpolated that data and we're going to use 6,000, right? We're going to use 6,000 as our data, 7.4 burn with a 101 cruise. So we're going to quickly just punch that data in. Do that. 101, 101, 101, 101, and our descent will still be at 101. So not even too worried. You'll slow down when you're in the pattern, but again, at that point, you're just trying to get your times in line to see how long it'll take. Okay, now comes the E6B fun stuff, right? Right, guys? Everyone loves the E6B. So let's open up our handy-dandy E6B. Open up the wind side. Oh, it allows me to put in a dot. How nice. Can I get rid of that dot? How do I get rid of it? Stand by. Got to figure out how to get rid of the dot. Reset. Reset the dot. I don't want the stupid dot. Crap. I guess I have to reset the screen. Okay, cool. So we're here with our E6B, and we're going to start with our first calculation right up here, right? So to use an E6B, luckily every E6B has it right at the top telling you what you need to do. You can see it right here as well. But we're going to set the wind direction under the true index, right? So our wind direction is 310. So we're going to go 310 under the true index. This is the true index here. 310. Bada bing. Okay? Then what do I do? Velocity 4. Okay? Mark wind velocity up from center point. So always use your center point as 100. That's essentially even. Consider it to be 0. That's the easiest way to think about it. If you're using anything else, you're going to have to do math in your head. It's going to get all fucked up. So you want to keep it this way, and we're going to do 4 knots up. Right about there. Okay? Simple so far. Let's keep reading. Set the true course under the true index. Okay. So my true course is 238. So we're going to do that. 238. Them lines getting all screwed up. 238. Sweet. Then what do I do? Oh. And I'm kidding around, guys, but this is something very serious to know is the E6B tells you what to do. It looks like a very complicated piece of equipment. It's really not. Because if you read what it tells you to do, you'll get the correction. You'll get all the data that you need. So, slide the wind velocity mark to the true airspeed. What's our true airspeed? 73. What's our wind velocity mark? Let's go take a look at it. To 73. All right, let's do it. 73. Okay, that's 73 right there. Ground speed reads under center. Okay. Ground speed reads under center. That's about 71, I'd call it. Okay, so that's my ground speed. I just calculated my ground speed. 71 knots is going to be my ground speed. 71. Cool. Not that bad, guys. I don't know how it's 71, though. Doesn't make much sense at all. It shouldn't be that, because that's a bit of a tailwind. Interesting. 71 is the correct number, though. That's weird. Yeah, that is correct. Cool. So, we have that in. Now, we need to know the last step. Wind correction angle reads between centerline and wind velocity mark. Okay, so we have these weird degree markers, right? And we have 10 degrees here. That means 8, 6, 4, 2, and it's about 3. So we'll call it 3 degrees right. So we know that it's on the right side of it, which means it's variation west, wind correction right. So we're going to do, you can see, there's your variation plus, and you're going to do 3. Sorry, your wind correction angle, is 3. Your variation is on your sectional, Wind correction angle is plus 3. Sorry, not the variation. We can put in the variation in a second. The variation is on your sectional chart, which is here. And you need to look for a prominent line that indicates a variation line. There's our variation line. This is what a variation line looks like. 13 degrees west. And you look for your next variation line, which should be somewhere. You always want to find the closest variation line, if you can. Because apparently I can't find the next variation line. It's there somewhere, but my eyes clearly are not working today, and they're being silly. If I zoom out, I'll probably see it a lot easier. Yeah, there we go. So there's 13 degrees, and there is 12 degrees, so we copy it. So 12 degrees variation is a lot closer to Cape May County versus Ocean County. It's honestly in the middle of the 13 and 12. Just for correction's sake, we're going to just use 12 because it's pretty much damn in the middle. So I'm going to use 12 all the way down for our variation. So we're just going to quickly do a plus 12 all the way down. You guys are probably wondering why I'm putting on the second line, and that'll make sense in a moment. Okay. Your deviation is based upon your aircraft, guys. In this case, every compass has a certain magnetic deviation card on it. Next time you're in your aircraft, look for it. It's typically a degree or 2. In this case, just for the learning purposes of this lesson, we are going to just put 0 as no deviation. Sometimes there is no deviation. Sometimes there's a degree. Sometimes there's more than a degree. Totally depends. But just for this lesson, we're going to put 0 magnetic deviation. All right, so we can now do our calculation here of what, on our first line, what our actual compass heading is going to be. So our true course is 238. We're assuming a wind correction angle of 3 degrees. And our true heading is going to be then 241. So we're going to quickly go 241, 241. Then we're going to add 12 degrees of variation to it, and that's going to bring us to 253. We're going to have 0 deviation, so our final compass setting will be 253. That's how you complete your first line. We're going to quickly do that for the rest of it. So, what's going on, Kenny? So, we're here. We're now going to go to our next information on this line and complete this line as much as possible. Distance leg remaining. So we have to know how much is remaining in our leg. So we have to know our total, essentially our total distance of our entire thing, which is 62.9 miles, right? So we're just going to quickly do a calculator thing. 62.9, let's call it 63 minus 9. 54 miles remaining. 54. 54. Now, anywhere that in your navigation log it says act or A, typically it means actual that happened. So ground speed, estimated actual. So when you're on your way to coil, if you're you're going to write down whatever ground speed you're actually getting by looking at, if you have a GPS that can read out ground speed to you, then you can use that. Otherwise, you can't really calculate if your ground speed was that. I mean, ForeFlight will tell you your ground speed if you use ForeFlight. So ETE, estimated time en route. So how long do we think this will take? 9 minutes. We look back at our climb table. Go 9 minutes, which is here. Or 9 miles, I should say, which is about 7 minutes. So we're going to estimate this will take us about 7 minutes to do. And I'm just going to put 700. Now, perhaps just looking at that, that'll be accurate. But I could use my E6B again to find out the exact value, and that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to open up the E6B and go to the slide rule. And we're going to look at the little note down here, set miles per hour, knots, distance is outer, time is inner. So we're going to set our ground speed. Our ground speed is 71. So we are going to set under the rate tab 71. Now, I'm going to look at the distance outer, and I'm looking for 9 miles. So I'll go to 90 and just remove the 0, 9, and then move to the inner. Okay, I see 7, I see 8. Middle of 7 and 8 would be 7 minutes and 30 seconds. It's a little past that, so I have to do the calculation. It's about 7, let's call it 7 minutes and 40 seconds. It's a little past it. It's going to take a little bit longer, 7 minutes and 40 seconds to do. Okay, I'll put that in. Estimated time of arrival. This is all based upon when you plan to fly. We'll say that we plan to fly at 11 o'clock tonight. So we're going to do 11:07. Now, do you need to be this accurate with timing? No. If you want to just round up and say 8 minutes, round up. I'm just showing you that you can be this precise if you want to be. Thanks, Ethan. Appreciate that. So we continue moving back, and we now have 11:07. Fuel used and fuel remaining. Now, this is very key to use the POH to figure it out. So we know that 4,500 feet will be at the point where we're crossing coil. We're still in the climb. We'll use about 1.75 gallons. Let's call it 1.8. But we also have to factor in the amount of fuel we burned for engine start, taxi, and takeoff allowance, 1.4. So we look here, 1.75, 1.75 plus 1.4, 3.15. Let's call it 3.2. Okay, 3.2. Not too bad. We'll do that. 3.2 gallons is what we're going to write here. 3.2. Okay, there's our fuel used. We've completed our first line here. And we can put in the VOR and transponder codes. I mean, the code, it's pretty damn simple. 1200 is our code. We're planning cross country from Ocean County to Cape May. So VOR frequency. Well, we need to know coil's frequency, right, guys? So let's hop back down, zoom in, 13.4. That was easy. Boop. Boop. 113.4. So we do that. Make it a little smaller. 13.4. Ident. Ident is the identification of the coil VOR, which is CYN. Okay. If I want to do coil field VOR, can do that. Make it a little prettier. Coil field VOR. I'm also going to save this so I don't lose it. That would suck. Bearing. To from. Okay. What bearing are we going? Well, it's pretty much straight line distance to the VOR, so you can probably look here. We can see that this is probably about a 0.55 radial from the station. So if you want to do it that way, we can do 0.55 plus 180 degrees so that we're not in a reverse sensing situation and have 235. Now our course is 238, our compass heading with the wind correction, all that fun stuff. But the VOR that we're going to track, let's just call it 238. I mean, no, neither here nor there. It's a little more accurate if you have a plotter. But we'll just say 238, right? It would make sense because I'm going straight to the VOR from the airport. So 238, let's fucking do it. 238. Boom. And to from, it's to the station. You never want to get into a reverse sensing situation, guys. Even if you have an HSI that can account for it and fix it for you. Reverse sensing is a nasty thing that can get you in trouble. So 238 too. We have completed our first line, guys, of our navlog. Ident is the identification. I mean, if you want to put the ident of the Morse code, you could. But that's a very small field to put in the identification. I typically would probably put the identifier of CYN because also if you have a GPS, it's going to appear as CYN. You could honestly put both if you wanted to, but that's a good question. So, thank you guys for the follows and the likes as well on the TikTok side and the diamonds and all those gifts. I appreciate it. So we've completed our first thing. Whew, that was a lot of work. And now we do it again. So we now come up to here. Now this is where the wind is really, really going to change. So we're going to do this really quick. We're going to open up the 6B here. Wind side. Cool. Starting at 100, as we always do. There's 100. All right, we are setting our wind direction under true index. Wind direction is 330. 330. Set. Our velocity is 28, so we're going to mark 28 up, which is right about here. Okay, we're now going to put in our true course of 210. All right. Then what do we do, guys? We go to our wind velocity mark to our true airspeed. Our true airspeed prediction is 101. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this up to 101. 101. And then we look at our ground speed under the center dot. And it's about 112. So 112 is our ground speed. Significant tailwind. It's about 11 knots. So we'll do 112. Ground speed. 112. Actually, this is incorrect, guys, because I'm still in a climb here. It's not 101. So this is also helpful when you're doing it. You realize when you make mistakes, because I'm not going 101 in the climb. I'm going 73. So I know that this will be correct down here, but 73, I'm going to have to redo that calculation. So quickly reset this down. And we quickly set the wind to 330 at 28. 330 at 28. Zoom in, mark 28. We then change to our course of 210. We then move our wind velocity marker to our expected true, which will be 73, I believe. It is 73. So we're going to zoom in. I'm just going to make it a little clearer for everyone to see here. Zoom out a little. Oh, Jesus. It's got all messed up. Boop, boop, boop. I can't get the E6B. There you are. Okay. All right. So we go to our course, which is... did I fuck it up again? No, I didn't fuck it up. Yeah, I'm good. 210. 210 is our course. And we slide this down to 73, which is our expected true. It's set at 73. We look under the dot, and that is about 83. So 83 is our ground speed in the climb. Once we reach coil. 83. Okay. I'm actually surprised about that. I want to quickly check this calculation again, because that's a significant differential, and I want to check it again. So whenever something doesn't seem right to you guys, always check it again just to make sure, because sometimes the calculations just don't make sense. And I'll check it again, because I can even make mistakes too. So the wind direction is 310. And it's at 4 whopping knots. And then our true course is 238. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Okay. It's not that much different, but... actually, that is exactly what I just had. Which is hilarious, so I did do it right. I got a 73. I zoom in, and it's about 71, 72 knots. So, calculation's correct. I just wanted to double check it to make sure that I wasn't losing my mind. So that's correct. The one thing I didn't do on the last one, unfortunately, is reset this stupid dot. So I'm going to have to go to slide rule and reset it. So I'm going to reset this back to 100 and just redo the calculation for the... coil to top of climb, which is going to be pretty quick. As you see, when you do it over and over again, it gets quicker because you start to just learn how to do it. So it's 330. We set the wind. Boom. We set 23 or 28? 28. 28 knots. We zoom in. Just bug it right there. Boom. Zoom back out. Set our true course of 210. Then we're going to slide the wind dot to our expected true, which is 73. Make sure it's truly set where I want it. 70, 71, 72, 73. There's 73. I'm expecting ground speed of about 83, I wrote. 83 is correct. And then I just need my WCA, my wind correction angle. Don't leave. All right, and then I look at my wind correction angle. So I zoom in here, 20 degrees, 10 degrees. Every one of these middle notches is 2, so I know this is 18, 19 degrees. So it's 19 degrees west. So all I'm going to do here is 19. Sweet. That's there. I can then calculate the true heading. 210 plus 19 is 229. So we set 229 there. 229 plus 12 for your variation, which is 241. 0 deviation correction. 241 is your final compass setting. Cool. So let's do the rest of these legs really quick. So we'll just quickly open up the E6B again. And I know it gets old, guys. No one likes the E6B. Everyone likes using the electronic. I have an electronic E6B. I use it plenty of times. Even in the commercial world, I'll use it. it does come in handy. But the important thing is when you're learning, just learn it. It's not that bad. As you're seeing here, it's pretty simple if you just follow what it says. It does everything that you need, and it teaches you what you need to do. So, at least no one at the driver's license office me. Yeah, can you imagine? This stream has convinced me I absolutely positively have no interest in becoming a real world pilot. All right, so we now go to our next line, which is the top of climb to Atlantic City. And once again, we already know that it's 330 at 210. So we'll do it again because I unbugged it. 330 at 330 at 28, not 210. 330 at 28. Click that. Then we have our course. Spin it. 210. We slide our wind dot to our expected, which is 101, I believe. Yup. Move it up to 101. Right on where we need to be. 101. Expecting about a 112. 112. God, I'm good. I've already done all this. And our wind correction, when we take a look at it, we then notice how it's changed because we're now above this sector. So we're now going to look here. 5, 10, and it looks about 14 degrees west now. So we're going to do 14 degrees. So it's about 14 degrees because we're at a different situation now. Wind correction, 14 degrees. Yeah, it is correct. It is within that sector. I'm just double checking everything. Yeah. That would be correct. All right, 14. Then we just quickly do our calculation of 210 plus 14, which is 24. User, I plan on uploading this stream. I'm streaming on Twitch. I'm going to upload this to YouTube afterwards, so it will be there. You guys can just comment on my TikTok as a reminder or send me a DM if you need it. 224. So we know that this is going to be 224 now. Then we do our magnetic variation, and that's going to bring us to 236. 236 is our now final. Cool. We now move to the next one. Oh, you're doing Navlog right now, Aaron. Me too. Cool. So we have that, and that's done. Let's go to our next couple of legs, and we'll be done with the calculations of wind correction and all that fun stuff. Always remember to save. It's much easier that way. And we're going to do, guys, we're also going to do this, the weight and balance. I have a real-world weight and balance we're going to use for an aircraft that my students use. This is a real-world weight and balance. And we're going to use it. We're going to use, you can see exactly what a weight and balance looks like of equipment that was added or removed. And then you can see the new aircraft M28, CG, all that. We're going to do this a little bit later, so be sure to stay tuned for that. So, we now go to here. Open the 6B back up, reset it. Click and click, that resets it for square. Reset this to 100. And what we're going to do here is we are going to look at our next leg, which is 330 at 28. The wind isn't changing because we're using the same station, so that makes life easy. 330 at 28. Boom. All right, 330 at 28. Beautiful. It's right there. It's set. Okay. Now we need to look at our course, which is now 227. 227, guys. Just double check that. 227. And we're now going to go to 227. 227. Just line it up right there. 227. Beautiful. We're now going to slide our wind dot to our expected, which is 101. And we're going to now look at under the dot here to find out a little more accurate. There we go. Look under the wind dot to see where we're at. So 1, 2, 3. It's about in the middle there. Let's call it 103 knots. 103. Wow. It's a nasty crosswind. Yeah, that actually is almost a direct crosswind. It's favoring the tail side, but not by much. So we know our ground speed is now 103. That fucking sucks. Maybe we should have stayed lower. This is when you're doing the cross-country plan and you realize that you're not getting the performance that you want, and then you're like, oh, shit. It's even the worst when you have a headwind because you're like, God, this is going to take forever. Because you can see just this 13 or 17 degree change completely changed everything. Wild. So, that's what we got, guys. 103, and then let's take a look at the WCA, the wind correction angle, which is 16 degrees west. So I'll do 16 degrees. Plus 16. Slap it in fourth light and go. My Twitch is right underneath. Just look at the stream. It's right underneath. So we now do our quick calculation of true heading, calc, and we do 227 plus 16, which is 243. Plus 12, which is going to bring us to 255. Boom. OBI to our top of descent. It's going to be the same course, so these are going to be roughly the same calculations. So this will be the final wind correction calculation we really have to do. Oh, did they stop making the CX-3? Interesting. Slide rule side, wind side. And then we're just going to reset it once more, guys. Set it to 100. Take a look. 33028 hasn't changed. We're using the same winds aloft data. 33028. Set our course 210 or 215, I should say. 215. Ooh, that's not what I want. 215 is set. I got to get this back on the 0 point. There we go. All right, 215 is set, and now I'm going to slide the wind dot to what my expected is, which is 101. Oh, now we're cooking with gas. 101, our ground speed is going to be 110. Oh, we got it back at least, right, guys? 110 and 110, roughly. This is going to vary because you're descending, but you can, if you wanted to interpolate the data and say 105, because you're going to be losing a little bit. As we looked at the, if we look at the winds aloft data here for Atlantic City, at 3,000 feet, it's 320 at 28 knots. It's still 320 at 28, so actually we're not going to lose anything. Is it 320? Hold on, stand by. Yeah, it's 320, so it slightly shears about 10 degrees. You're not going to lose much, honestly. It's not going to affect your timing that badly, so we'll keep it at 110. Our wind correction angle is 14 degrees west, because we look at this marker here. Slide this over. We look at this marker here, and that's 14 degrees. That's 15 degrees. We're going to call it 14. It's right roughly in the middle. I'll call it 14. Can't be perfect. Plus, whoa, hello. Plus 14. Plus 14. Just falling asleep on me. Wake the fuck up. She is lagging a little bit right now. Let's save her. All right. Cool. Let's quickly do these calculations. 215 plus 14 is going to bring us to 229. Oh, come on. 229. Thank you. 229. This is also going to be the same. 229 plus 12. That's going to bring us to 241. Interesting. 241. 241 and 241. Beautiful. We have our courses all set now. We know what to expect on our magnetic compass heading. Now, we need to complete this data. So, ground speed. We actually calculated all our ground speeds, which is fine. We now need to calculate our distances, right? So, we need to figure out top of descent, whiskey, whiskey, delta pattern. Now that I actually have an idea of timings, I can start to figure this out. I have 700. I'm almost at 750. I'm at like 743 or something like that. So, OBI to whiskey, whiskey, delta. We open up Sky Vector, zoom out. We look here, 18 miles, 14 miles. So, we know the total distance. I'm just going to mark it for myself somewhere, just as a standby. 14. Come on. It's locking up on me. It's starting to lag a little bit. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up there. All right. So, what was I saying? What was it? 14 miles? 19 miles? 14. Hello, kitty. 14 NM. Cool. 14 NM. Sorry, my computer's apparently acting up right now. It's just slowing down because I'm putting in all this data into this damn thing. All right, cool. So we know it's 14 nautical miles. We know top of descent is 5,400 feet. Calculate. We take a look at our ground speed. 110, right? Feet per minute. Right? I'm going to do 500 feet per minute. So I do, let's just say 5,500 divided by 500, 11 minutes. This is where the E6B comes in. I say 11 minutes. Okay. I go to the slide rule side. And I need to figure out 11 minutes with my ground speed. So my ground speed is going to be 110, right? So I'm going to set 110 under my slide rule, which assume the 10 is 100. So I'll do 11 as 110, because just add a 0. Then I'm going to go to my time inner. It says 11 minutes, right? That's what my calculator said, 11 minutes. I go to the inside, the inner ring for 11 minutes. Thank you very much, Jetpot Cinnamon. It's 26 months on Twitch.
I am serious.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So we come here and we look at 11 minutes. We now look on the outside of it. And we see that it's going to be roughly 20 miles or so. A little more than 20 miles. So 11 minutes, 20 miles. Significant amount of distance. Jared, I'm going to upload it to my YouTube page. So 20 miles. And it's also going to be saved on Twitch. 20 miles, 11 minutes. Okay. Very important data for us. We know 14 miles is here, which means guess what, guys? We're going to need to descend before we get to Woodbine. Very important data. We didn't find this out till right now. That's why top of descent calculations are so damn important, because you don't know how long it's going to take you. According to this, it's going to take me 20 miles. So I now have to look here. 18 miles from Atlantic City to OBI, 14 miles from here, which means if it's 20 miles and I want to be at 1,100 feet, right, at the pattern, let's say 1420. So I now need to take this data right here, 18 miles. I'm going to need another 6, which means 12 miles to TOD. All of this is now going to shift down, unfortunately. So we're going to go like this, and you guys are going to see really quick what happens here. We go OBI here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I don't want to fuck this up too badly for myself. So I'm going to be smart. Come on. Shoop. Zoop. Just clearing this out here, guys, because we got to move the data. This is why when you do these, do them in pencil. Please, for the love of God, do them in pencil. So, top of descent, OBI, Whiskey Whiskey Delta pattern. Then I'm just going to highlight these here. Just move these on back up. So, ACY, top of descent, OBI. 6,500 feet, OBI to Whiskey Whiskey Delta. This is going to change depending upon what we're at. So, we have to quickly do a little bit of math here. It's 18 miles from Atlantic City to OBI. It was another 14 from OBI to Whiskey Whiskey Delta. So I can actually put 14 here, which makes life easy. 14. 14 right here. 14's here. 18 is from here to OBI. It's 20 miles for TOD. Let's play with it a little, give us a little more time to get to that altitude so we're not hitting it right as we get to ocean, as soon as we get to Cape May. So let's call it 22 miles, right, guys? So I need to add 6, 7, 8 miles to here, subtract it from here. So 10 miles from here, 8 miles from here. And then 14 miles. So Atlantic City, 10 miles to TOD. So if I quickly look here, I bet I can quickly figure out 10 miles. Can I do that? That's 8 miles. Let's try that one. How many is that? It's 5 miles. I think it's doing it in reverse of what I want. Call it around here. It's actually around the river where it's going to happen. I was just curious where it was going to fall exactly. But it's around the river. It's actually around the cooling stack. So if you did that, as an example, we did the calculation. We know that top of descent, let's use a visual checkpoint, guys. We did the calculation. Top of descent is somewhere around this river. What do we got right here? Big cooling fucking stacks, guys. Can't miss them. Beautiful checkpoint for us. Let's fucking look at them. Let's look at them from the fucking sky. Let's look at these fucking cooling stacks. Give me them cooling stacks. Let me find the river first. There's the river. Where them cooling stacks at? Where them cooling stacks at? I bet if I just search cooling stacks. Cooling stacks. That would be too easy. Hold on. I can tell you it is easy to spot when you're flying it. Apparently it's not easy to spot here. Yeah, that's definitely where it'll be. And it'll fall on the south shore. There they are. Here they are. Cooling stacks. Cooling stacks. Can't miss them. They're beautiful. So we know when we're on our way and we look off our left wing, fuck, there are the cooling stacks. It's time to descend. Top of descent does not always have to be based upon mileage and pilotage, guys. It can be based upon a VFR checkpoint. TOD. The stacks. Stacks. There you go. There you go. TOD. Stacks. Stacks on stacks. So, woo, got that calculation done. 229, 229, that would be... I need to make sure that these courses are right, stand by, because I think something got fucked up here when I was moving things around. Top of descent to stacks is still 215. Atlantic City to the stacks is not 227, though. I think it's actually... No, you know what it is? This is the same as this because it's Atlantic City. 227 should be there twice. I think. Yeah, it should. Okay. So all I'm going to do is just quickly correct this, guys. This is why you use pencil when you do these. Yeah, I gotta fix that mileage calculation, but this is 8. Cool. That fixes that. Top of descent to OBI, 6,500 is true. OBI to Whiskey Whiskey Delta, that's going to bring us down to our altitude, which is like, this will probably be 4,500 feet, but I got to do the calculation to quickly figure it out. So, top of descent stacks, 8 miles. I know that my descent will take, we're going to just quickly note it, 22-mile descent. 22-mile descent to 2 NM out from WWD. That's what we're going to write. We're going to write that as a note to ourselves, remind ourselves of it. So, 22 miles. 8 miles from the top of descent to the top of descent stacks to OBI. 14 miles from OBI to Whiskey Whiskey Delta. It's still too tight. We want to be 2 miles before Whiskey Whiskey Delta. But actually, it's calling out the Whiskey Whiskey Delta pattern, so that's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect, guys. It has to be within the range. Again, when you're doing this for your Proud Pod check ride, your threshold is 5 minutes. You have to be at your first checkpoint within 5 minutes of your estimated. So you got enough room to play with. You know what I mean? I'm going to quickly just make sure that my math is correct. This total cross country should be about 62, 63 miles. So I'm just going to add up all these legs to make sure that, yeah, there we go. 64 miles. That's fine. So we're just going to quickly start to get these calculations squared away. 54 minus 5.5. That's 48.5. $48.5. I got to hear some of this music as well. Oh, that's nice. Now I can multitask a little better. 48.5. Then we're just going to calculate again. 17.5. Oh, crap. 48.5 minus 17.5, 66. I did plus instead of minus. Oh, am I doing... No, I'm not. 48.5 minus 17.5. Thank you. 31. Using a calculator, that's cheating. I want to see your work. Listen, Hotch. I'll make you sit down and do one of these. You'll never want to be a pilot again. 21 miles. 13 miles. That math didn't add up. I think my mental math got fucked somewhere in the process here. How long is this entire flight? 63 miles. 63 minus 9 minus 5.5. Fuck. Why is this happening? 63 minus 9 minus 5.5 minus 17.5 minus 10 minus 8 minus... Should be 13. That's why. Okay. 13 and 0. Okay. So, that's set. We have our mileage calculations done. We have our ground speed, and our actual is going to be unknown until we actually do it. Our estimated time en route. Now we got to use the E6B to figure out those. So we'll just quickly go over here to our E6 Bravo. Reset. Thank you. All right, we look at our ground speed. 83. Put it under the dot. 83. Beautiful. Distance outer, time inner. Distance outer. 5.5. 5.5. Time inner. 4.0. It's about 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Back to the 6B. Ground speed 112. That's 100. That's 112 right there. 112. 17.5 is on the outer. We gotta find 17.5 on the outer. In the middle there, it is about 9.5 minutes. 9 minutes, 30 seconds. Hop back in here. Thank you guys for the likes. I really appreciate it. Now we're going to look at 10 miles at 103. Set 103 right there. Then we have 10 miles for this. So 10 is actually right here, which is nice. And we look on the inner. 5.5, 6, 5:45. Let's call it 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Sure. Hell, I could call it 6 minutes, but I'm trying to be as accurate as possible. 5:45. Even on TikTok, I can't get away from nav planning. Good stuff. They're on to you, my man. They're on to you. We then go back to here. We have 103 still. This time it's an 8 nautical mile leg, which means it's going to be about 4 minutes and let's call it 4 minutes 45 seconds as well. 4:45. 13 miles at 110. That can't be right, Joseph. No, it can be right because you're shifting your heading because your top of the sun is to OBI. Yeah, that's correct. So that is correct. 110. 13 miles. 13 miles. It's about 7 minutes. A little more than 7 minutes, but we'll call it 7 minutes. 7 minutes. And then I typically do this for timing. I don't do the wind velocity or anything like that because it's not predictable. All I will do is pattern work. I'll just put in the pattern work timing. It's going to take me another 2 minutes to do the pattern, right? Roughly 2 minutes. Let's say 3 minutes to do the pattern. I just do that so I can calculate that as well. Don't care about the ground speed or the fuel burn because I'm going to be using an average burn anyway. So let's keep doing this ETA stuff. So it's going to be 4 minutes here. This is going to bring us to 11:11. Make a wish. I'm going to bring this to 11:20. Then we're going to go here and we're going to bring this. Let's round up to 11:26. Who's rating me? Who's that? Mr. Fishy Boy Stickies?
Pull the cord on the right side flat.
Welcome aboard, Party of 11 on the Twitch side. Thank you for the raid, Fish Sticks. We're doing some real-world navigation planning. This is what private pilots have to learn how to do. So we're doing some teaching here. So thank you for the raid. I hope your stream went well, buddy. It was good to catch up with you the other day. I miss you. All right, so we come back here, 11:26, 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Let's just call it 11:31. Let's round up. Come here. It's going to be 11:38 now. 11:38, and then we're going to estimate another 3 minutes bopping around the pattern. 11:41. I am estimating to arrive at 11:41. Let's make that bold. My estimated time en route is going to be 41 minutes. Let's call it 41. Even though that's not going to add up properly here, it's if I want to be a pain in the ass, I can be a pain in the ass and be exact about it. No one's going to care that much, not even an examiner. You're not going to be like, "Oh, I was off by 5 seconds." You start getting that picky when you're doing instrument training and you're timing your holds. That's when you start getting picky about it. 7 plus 4 plus 9 plus 5 plus 4 plus 7 plus 3 plus 1.5 plus 0.5. Oh, actually, that did add up. 41. Cool. So we have our timing. We have it's going to take us 41 minutes to get there. Fuel used. Let's do our fuel burn economy stuff. Taking a look at the fuel burn from 4,500 feet, which we were at, we were burning about 1.75 to here, 2.4. That's going to be another 4.3, another, call it 0.75, I think. 0.7 or so. Because 1.2.4 minus 1.75, 0.65. So I'll do 0.65 of the burn here. Yeah, 0.065. But what you want to do, always round up, guys. Round up worst case scenario. Because VFR day requirements are enough fuel to get to your destination plus 30 minutes. We're flying at night, so it's actually plus 45 minutes at normal cruise. We're just going to estimate. It's a 172, guys. It's a 63-mile flight. We'll be okay. We're going to use a gallon, right? Hello. Hi. So we go back to, the POH. And we look at our cruise calculations, our cruise performance table. And we're going to use 7.4 gallons per hour cruise. 7.4. So again, we're doing some data interpolation here, guys. Data interpolation. 7.4 is our cruise. Estimated gallon per hour, 7.4. All right. There's our cruise interpolation that we made earlier. 7.4 gallons an hour. How the hell do I get the gallons per minute and all that stuff? Could I use an electronic E6B? Yeah. But are we doing it the old-fashioned way? Fuck yeah, we are. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to open up the E6B here. And we're going to read what the E6B says. What's the E6B say here, guys? Set gallons an hour, total gallons, outer, time, inner. Oh, so that's why we had to do the time before we did the gallons per hour, Joe. Oh, there is a method to your madness. There is. So we set 7.4 gallons per hour. Hello, little cow. You want to say hi to everyone really quick? Come here. You want a snack? You want a snack? Thank you for the follow, Rumor. Hello. Hello. You want a snack? I'll give you a snack really quick. Just tell people TikTok hello. What are you doing? Say hello. You're such a good girl. What up, Jean? How you doing? All right. So, I am going to give her a snack really quick, and I'll be right back. Come on, let's go. Let's go get a snack. Snack! She's a little early for a snack. The auto feeder's going to go off again. She's going to get double snack today. All right, so 7.4 gallons an hour. We're setting it under the marker here. This is 7.5. This is 7.4 gallons per hour. We have it set. Now, we've done that calculation. We now need to know the time, inner, and we'll find out the total gallons on the outer. So the inner time for this leg is about 4 minutes. So we look on the inside, 4 minutes, and we're about 5. So that's actually half a gallon. Yes, that would be correct, half a gallon. So 4 minutes, half a gallon for a 4-minute leg. We have one in there already. So we look here. Our timing here is 9 minutes and 30 seconds. We go up here. 9 minutes, 30 seconds time. 9 minutes and 30 seconds on the inner. Don't screw it up, Joe. Time inner is 9 minutes and 30 seconds right here. Outer is our burn. We look here. 9 minutes and 30. It's a little more than 1.1 gallons. It's not, so we'll say 1.2. We'll round up. 1.2 gallons. 1.2. Okay. 1.2 gallons. Solid. 5 minutes and 45 seconds. Come back here. We don't have to spin it anymore. We're just looking at our times now. 5:45, 5.5, 6. 5:45 is about here. That's going to be about 0.7. Let's round up. 0.8. Everything's about rounding up. Give yourself more fuel for more error. Shit happens. You may get a vector. You may have other things. We haven't even gotten to the reserve portion or my personal reserve, because you also have personal reserves you have to calculate after you do the main fuel burn. 4 minutes and 45 seconds. We go down here. 4:45 is about here, which is about we'll call it 0.6 gallons. I'm good. Glad to hear that, Gene. 0.6. Cool. Then we go here. And we are estimating about 7 minutes here. Meow. 7 minutes here. Go to the inner. 7. Between 8 and 9. So it's 0.8 or 0.9. So we'll call it 0.9. Then we're going to be bopping around for 3 minutes. But at that point, we're going to be probably mixture full rich and at a different power setting. But again, we're estimating here, guys. We're going to have plenty of reserve anyway. So we look, we're going to be bopping around for a whopping 3 minutes. It's going to be almost zero fuel. 3 minutes is here. 0.35, we'll call it 0.4 gallons for 3 minutes. 0.4. Okay. So, pattern. Taxi fuel. I'm also going to calculate taxi fuel because I'm anal like that. And I'm just going to go right back to the POH, and I'm going to be a little bit more conservative in my calculation here. If I can fucking find it. Where is it? There you are. 1.4 for engine start, taxi, and takeoff allowance. Let's call it a gallon. 1.0. Just call it taxi fuel 1.0. Then, you know what I'll even do? I'll do my minimum. Personal mins. Personal mins. Oh. Style. Align right. Arrival, typically you'll put down here, but I just do it in a straight line because it's easier to read, in my opinion. You don't have to put it there. I just like to put it there. Where I actually put in all this fun stuff. These legs, this is very, very dependent upon how your CFI teaches you. I teach people to be as accurate as possible because I want you to be accurate. And, you know, it's good to practice it anyway. You don't have to do the wind or anything, but figure out, you know, your personal mins at this point. So taxi fuel. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Taxi, park, reserve. There we go. That's a good way to do it. Taxi, park, reserve. So how much fuel it's going to take to taxi and park, and then how much reserve. So it's 45 minutes at your cruise rate. So 7.4, we can actually just divide that by 4 because it's an hour. That's 15 minutes each. 7.4 divided by 4 times 3. It's 5.5. Let's call it 5.6. So it's going to be 5.6. So we're going to do 6.6. Yeah, 6.6. 6.6. Wonderful. Taxi, park, reserve. Actually, yeah, you're right. I fucked that up. Pattern work to taxi, park, and reserve. I said 0.4 to land. I'm trying to think what I was thinking here. OBI to there is 13 miles. This is going to be 0.4 right, which is pattern. We'll call it pattern taxi. We're not going to really change the timing because the timing doesn't matter as much. Let's just call it 1.4 for reserve purposes. And then from here to here, which is, yeah, Whiskey Whiskey Delta pattern to pattern taxi is 1.4. Pattern taxi to taxi park reserve is here. And I'll calculate that as our reserve calculation was 5.6, I think, and 1 hour, which is 1 plus my personal minimum. So we'll do our taxi park reserve This is Bluebeam Review. It's a PDF editor. We'll do 45 minutes, which I just fucking calculated, but I can't remember because I'm an idiot and I'm getting tired. Calc 7.4 divided by 4 times 3, 5.5. Let's call it 5.6 plus my personal minimums. I'm going to say my personal minimums, if I was a new private pilot, even today, I'd want another hour of fuel to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do. I have an instrument rating, so my personal minimums are much different because I can just call up and shoot an instrument approach, but I'll say 1 hour just for personal minimums purposes, plus 7.4. 13 gallons. Is that absolutely necessary? Not at all. I'm just being more conservative. That's pattern taxi, and then this is going to be reserve, personal, min. Then we'll just make this a little bit smaller so it fits in the block here. Reserve and personal mins, 13 gallons. All right, so let's add up our fuel. 3.2 plus 1 plus 1.2 plus 0.8 plus 0.6 plus 0.9 plus 1.4 plus 13. 22.1. 22.1 gallons. Sweet. All right, so we got that data all in there, and that's good. Let's just clean up any of the data we need, which is primarily the Atlantic City VOR. We definitely are going to need. So let's be sure to put that in there. So I'll just do this ACY. Come on, you little bitch. ACY. What's the frequency for Atlantic City? 108.6. And we will estimate a 227 radial. (227.2) station. Then if I wanted to fly outbound, I honestly, again, I'm tracking the VOR anyway, which is at the center of the field. So, knowing that data, just find out what my course is. It's actually, that should be 210. The next one's 227. 210. Will you fucking edit 227 from? All right. Save. All right, guys, so we've completed our navigation log. This is a navigation log. We've completed it. We're going to just set the altitude here at 1100. And if I want to, I can set it to the pattern, the airport elevation, which is 22. And do that if I want to. Again, these lines are more for fuel burn and timing purposes. So we got all that information. We're done here. We've created the flight plan. The flight plan's complete. For those of you who want to see it really full screen, I'll sort of zoom out on the TikTok side. You can see everything's complete here. We're done with this. We've figured out how much we're going to need fuel-wise.